podcast.
I know she does. Okay,
shall I intro? So we've got themes. I'm actually so excited for today. Can I just say? I can't wait. So
it's basically just like a chat with girls about dating.
Honestly,
I know. It's like, I think that's the thing as well. There's so much out, like, in a sense of what girls experience, but they all think that they're on their own with it, but they're absolutely not, and they all experience the same thing, and it's like, actually, like, there's a lot of moving parts to the dating world.
It's
a lot.
Yes. So we've got theme 3. Should I read out? Should I start by introing, saying we're going to cover all these or not? Because I'm just thinking we might not get through everything. And
no, I think just
say some of the themes we'll cover.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to think, because this is from looking at other podcasts, we need to have a bit of more of a natural stop.
Yes.
Because I think we would just talk, and then we'd be like, shit, and then stop. Yeah. So should I start timing it and then just give us so long to go and just mention, right, we've got, I don't know, what have you done podcasts before, Jess?
Yeah, lots.
Cool. Is that what happens? I'm just trying to think what's the best way to like naturally end it. Just get closer. I guess it's like I'll time it.
Normally it's like a one last thought, isn't it? Or like a one last kind of piece of advice.
At the very end, or between each theme?
At the very end.
At the very end.
So what I'll do is, if we're naturally, because to be honest, a lot of it is just naturally progress to the next topic. But what I'll do is I'll just say for the last question or something, just to make it obvious to you guys. Yeah, I'll do that. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Right. We will get going. Where is my thing of questions? Here we go. Cool. Right, everyone. Welcome to the Eventful podcast. So I said podcast weird, didn't I? Podcast. Right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Eventful podcast. So today we are joined with Jess, who I'll let her intro herself in a second. We have a dating expert this week because we obviously need a lot of help. So I will intro Jess.
Cool. I'm Jess. Sorry, go for it.
Jess, do you want to introduce yourself and just obviously tell us a bit, tell everyone a bit about like what you do, and why you're here.
Yep. Of course. I'm Jess Matthews. I'm a dating and relationship coach and also a writer. I've been working in the space of dating and relationships for a long time, probably 8 years now. I'm also known as the Boy Detox. I recently launched a course to help women intentionally disconnect from dating for a month so that they can focus on themselves, prioritize their own goals, and work out what they want and need from relationships before jumping back into dating.
Amazing. No, that's fab. Cool. So obviously, we're going to talk to you today about all different aspects of dating, and we've got a few questions which we're going to ask Jess,
we have several themes that we will go through. For example, some first date tips, overcoming dating anxiety, online dating profiles, for example. So should we get started? So first one is around first date tips. So I need that help because I will literally do a first date and I very rarely have second dates.
Really?
Yeah. Very rarely.
So you don't go on second dates?
Yeah, I typically will go on a first date and then never. Yeah, literally, second dates are very rare for me. I'd say,
What do the first dates look like? I mean, what I would say for first dates is a lot of women get up in their heads before they even go on a first date, and they kind of decide that they like this guy and it's maybe the love of their life. So they put so much pressure on themselves. Before they even arrive. And I think a lot of us, me included in the past, we go into dates and we think, oh my God, I hope he likes me. But I think you need to really flip the narrative and know that you have just as much impact in this decision. Like you are making that decision about whether you are going to be attracted to this person or be interested in them. And also we all need to understand that first dates are basically just a chemistry match. You don't actually really work out if you like someone romantically for quite a while. So I always kind of encourage people to take first dates back a notch and make them more low impact, is what I would call them.
Yes.
Yeah, not too much pressure on it.
Yeah, and I think it's so true. Like I feel like so many people, and obviously women, but also men as well, going into a first date with that mentality of like, oh, I hope they like me, I hope.
Yes.
And then that pressure does come on to yourself, and then in a way, because you're putting that pressure on yourself, you're starting to act like not yourself.
Yeah.
And then
Yes.
it's a bit like, well,
and then you're awkward and you're worried about like if you've got something in your teeth or whatever, or like how you sound, or you're trying to behave in a way that's not yourself. But I like this idea of low impact dating because it takes the pressure off. And I know that this might be controversial because as women, we want to be courted and we want romance straight away. But I think if you can do something that's puts less pressure on you and the other person, where you're able to just kind of interact more naturally, I think you're kind of better.
Mm-hmm.
So whether that is a coffee, even though a coffee can seem clinical, or an afternoon walk, or something that's an activity,
I was going to
say exactly
that kind of helps. But my favorite, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say I've been on one walking date and I was like, this is actually great for a first date because you have to stare intensely at someone.
Yeah, because you're walking side by side.
Yeah, or doing something else. Yeah, instead of just someone staring.
Yeah,
which even with like someone is a lot.
Yeah, for sure. I think so. One of my friends actually, it's his girlfriend now. Like they've been together probably for like nearly a year, but I was like, I actually kind of get it, but in terms of his first date with her, he was like, I have this strategy where like it's basically like like maybe like meet for like an hour or so, maybe like a quick coffee, like, oh, do you want to go to like a quick coffee, or like have you got time just for a quick hour coffee, and then you can kind of in a way, so that's if you do have that, you do get on in some form. So it's not like you're like blocking out the whole, because then for the next one, if you do want to see them again, it's like, okay, we can make this more
nice.
Make
it more romantic.
What would you say is the best amount of time for a first date?
So I would say, like, I mean, an hour is great if you can not get it done in an hour, but if you can have a first date in an hour and ascertain whether you're interested in seeing the person again and you're attracted to them, then great. The other favorite first date idea I have is 2 hours, but do it on a Saturday afternoon at 3 or 4 o'clock, where you go for a drink. So it's like 2 wines, and then you leave because you have dinner plans with a girlfriend.
Oh yeah,
you
have something after, like you have to leave because you
because I'm really bad. I was talking to one of my guy friends and I was like, I'll go on a date, and say if it's dinner or drinks or something, I will stay till like 11, 12, even if I'm not having a great. I think it's rude to leave. Like,
it's always
rude
tricky.
if I've not got anything on. I'm like, I think it's rude to leave. And then my guy friend was like, the fact you stayed that long, if I was on a date with you, I think you were interested.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely.
So I was like,
But you also got to think in terms of your own boundaries personally. If you're single and you're dating a lot, you can't give 5 or 6 hours to every single date. That means you can only go on one date per week potentially. And it's going to impact your next day. You can't get up at 7 or 6 or whatever to go to the gym. It might mean that your work is not as good the next day. So you want to just keep your own boundaries like firmly set in your mind, and that will help you kind of create these shorter, like low impact dates, because it will benefit you as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I feel like I need to be better with boundaries, especially on a first date, because that's what you're right, that's why I stopped going on first dates.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that's the thing, because you've probably built up this like perception of that's how it's always gone. But actually shifting it slightly, trying out that maybe 1 hour thing.
I also think when women decide that we might like a guy, like based on his Hinge profile or Bumble profile, or we're quite into him already, we set up this first date, it might be a dinner or whatever, and then we're like, oh cool, I love him, so I'm off to get a blow dry. And you spent you've got a new outfit, blow dry, Uber, whatever it is, but you spent $450 before you've even gone to the date. You're more invested. You're going to spend more time there.
Yeah.
It's a long date, and then you are going to be more disappointed if it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
That's a
that's
good
very
point.
true.
Okay, cool. So just low
Impact.
Low impact, maybe an hour to 2, but have maybe like a 3 or 4 o'clock date on like a Saturday afternoon, maybe go for a couple of wines and then have plans after. So you might go for dinner with one of the girls, or like.
And do you know what? It also weeds people out that actually just want to use you for sex, because if you're saying to a man, I want to go for a walk and get a coconut, or let's get an ice cream at 8 p.m. on a Friday, and then, you know, that's it, I go home, or let's go for brunch, and they don't want to do that.
Yeah.
You know, they're not, that there ain't that, you know, that's not it. Like, they just want to probably get in your pants.
I've literally had it where I was supposed to be going on a date with a guy, and he's like, right, do you want to come round to mine at 10 p.m? I was like, what?
No.
I was like,
No.
"That's not a date. What?"
And that was the first
And
date.
I was like, do you mean meet for drinks somewhere? And he's like, no, come round to mine. I was like, I'll meet
No.
you for drinks. And then he just didn't message me back. And I was like,
Yeah,
wow.
I think that's the thing.
Well,
They're not-
that's it. And you're like, thank you very much. You show me who you are, you know. So if you set those boundaries for yourself, I think that really helps, because you're not overextending yourself, and you're not putting yourself under too much pressure, and you're not setting yourself up for massive disappointment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you know what? It's kind of nice the way that you said that, because I think I want to, not just in dating, in life, look at things that way, where it's like you don't look at things as negative. So, for example, with that guy, like you were saying, that's someone showing me their true colours early on. I waste time on a date,
yeah.
instead of looking at like, oh my God, I'm really upset about that. So I'm like, look at things in a positive way. So it's like, my friend was saying this thing where she was like, say you miss your train for work, just think if you were on that train, something bad could have happened. So maybe that's why you missed it. So I'm like, that's such a nice way to look at life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Positive spin. What's your thoughts on asking on a date what people want from a date, or how serious they are, what they're looking for? Do you think that's too much to ask on a first date?
On first date. It depends on the circumstance. I think it's very natural to be talking about dating when you're on a date, particularly if you're on dating apps. You need to assume that everybody's kind of dating. I hate this kind of question, like, how's Hinge treating you? But I think you can use other questions to find out the answer to that. So, you know, you can ask, what does your ideal weekend look like, or what does your ideal date look like, or how do you spend your weekends or weeknights usually, because that's going to kind of give you, the person will start giving you context around how they spend their time and where their priorities lie, you know. And that kind of like opens up conversations to start talking about connections and relationships, rather than just going in and being like, oh, so what do you want from this?
Yeah. To say, my therapist was like, you need to ask on dates what they're looking for in marriage, and this. I was like, that's a bit much for.
I think that's the thing. It's like, I guess, I know what you mean. It's like that kind of directness is a bit intense. But you can obviously, like Jess said, like find out stuff, but in a very subtle way, and position like the questions differently.
Yeah. So like, what has one of your previous relationships taught you, or what has one of your previous connections taught you? And then you get the person to open up and start talking about what's happened in their past, and a lot of people will naturally then go, that's what happened then, but this is what I want to happen now.
Okay, interesting. I guess it's hard, like, how you spot red flags. Because then what would be a red flag in that scenario? Do you know what I mean?
So I always kind of say that red flags are very unique, because a red flag to me might be someone that has children, and it might not be a red flag for you, right? Because you don't mind. So red flags are kind of, we sort of flex on them depending on the individual. But I will say, like, there's some hard red flags that I see, and they're around disinterest. Like, if you go to a date and someone is disinterested in you, they're not present, they're not engaged, and they're not curious about you, if they're not asking you questions, I consider that to be a red flag, because they're not actually interested in who you are or getting to know you.
Absolutely.
I also think this is a funny one, because women and men probably too, trip up on it a lot when men future plan too soon. So if on a second or third date, he's saying to you, I'm going to Spain in 3 months to see my family, you should come.
Yeah, I had that once.
Yeah.
Huge red flag. Huge red flag. Like, of course we're amazing, but you don't know that in 3 months we're going to be around, or that's appropriate.
Yeah.
So that one, I think, showing any signs of resentment about exes or resentment about relationships in general is probably a red flag, because it means that they're not open.
Yeah. Why do people do that though? I don't understand this, because I feel like it's I might be wrong, love bombing.
I know, I don't, I've always kind of wondered that, Jess, like, just like the reason behind why we think people do that, like when they, especially when, and this is just based on experience of like a couple of years ago, but I was basically seeing a guy who basically turned out that he'd finished with his ex-girlfriend a lot shorter than when I thought. He basically was like, it's a year ago, it was literally like a month before he met me. Wow. But it was like a sense of like he went like all guns blazing, like literally, you know, and I should have spotted the love bombing at first, but I think he just came across like he liked me so much. And then the red flags started to appear when I'd be like, it was more just a case of like, he'd be like showing signs where he was just like, oh no, like I'm doing all this stuff for you, but you know, we're not together, we'd never be together, sort of thing. And then I was a bit like, okay.
There's gaslighting also.
Yeah.
I had a similar thing where it was like, right, in 2 months I'm going to the south of France with my family, you should come as well. And that was literally on the first day. Yeah. And I was like, oh, this guy's so nice. And then like on reflection, I'm like, why would you? Because I think for me as well, if I'm not sure in someone, I would never say that.
Absolutely. It's creating a false sense of intimacy so that you drop your inhibitions, and then you think, oh, he likes me, it's okay, and you do whatever they want. You'll sleep with them, you'll like be invested in them, whatever, and then they can bang and get out of there. Like that's basically it. It's a false sense of intimacy to mislead you into thinking that they like you because they're saying XYZ. And women, unfortunately, we fall for that kind of stuff because we're so optimistic and we're hopeful and we're such lovers that's what we want. We want a man to say that to us, but we need to be more discerning around why and
so early on.
Why so soon.
Theory said to me, she was like, when I was telling her the story, she was like, I don't like that. She's like, he doesn't know you. And I was like, no,
that's
I think
I think that's
like
the
me.
thing as well. It's like it's just like convincing yourself, like, actually no, it's fine, he does like me.
Like, he
like
must like me. We just
then,
got a really good connection. She's like, he doesn't know you yet. I was like, fine.
It can also happen for another reason, which is that person can be quite kind of lonely and insecure, and therefore they're really looking for somebody to fill the void in their life. So they need to convince somebody to come along for their ride.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting. I think I think as women as well, I mean, I've been guilty of this in the past, but I feel like we're so sometimes guilty of like analysing like what they've said, or oh, they mentioned that one time, that must mean they like me, or like analysing text messages. Like I've been guilty of it. You know, my friends as well, like we'll just like you know, sit there like analyze messages, like, oh, but he said this, and it's like, oh no, like at the end of the day, what's his action?
What they do, exactly. You actually need the actions and you need the words. So you can't just have someone acting like your boyfriend and saying to you, I don't want to be in a relationship, because that doesn't add up. Maths ain't mathing there. But for the most part, you want to see the action. You can't just listen to somebody saying all these things, giving you all these compliments, saying, you know, we're going to live here, we're going to do this together, we, and then not do it. It's actions is important.
exactly. I think, yeah, it's kind of until they show it through action. I think I definitely got to that stage within my dating life where I was like, until this person shows me through action what they actually care, or they actually, you know, want to do, spend more time with me. Maybe, you know, if it does progress, like meet whoever, friends. I think friends is a big one as well. Like if you get to a specific point when you're seeing somebody, if a guy, so like my boyfriend, I mean, literally me and him met on Hinge, and we had our first date and things like that. And then it was kind of like I felt with him, there was no like, to begin with, any of that, like, you know, oh, when we go here, like too kind of like early on and trying to talk way too much in the future. And it was kind of like a more of a gradual thing where he would show things through action, and then he would introduce me to his friends more, and then I met some of his family and things like that. And it just eventually, like, I was like, okay, I'm trusting that he wants to be with me and he likes me because he's doing the XYZ.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. That's the other thing that I think is a red flag too, is moving too fast. And it sounds like you and your boyfriend have had a good pace around it. But if you move too quickly with somebody, and if they're trying to push you along at their pace, it means you're going to miss things. It means you're going to, like, you don't have that opportunity to observe their words and their actions, and whether they're aligning or not. So you miss stuff.
Yeah. That's a good point. Interesting. And then another kind of theme, I guess, is anxiety. So with just dating. So I guess whether it's a first date, second date, I think maybe that's the issue why potentially people get stuck on first dates, is the anxiety. So what's your views on how you can, so I guess we kind of covered it, maybe it's on the having those shorter dates like you were saying.
But
what's other ways?
I think the other thing that happens is that women in particular put a lot of pressure on themselves in terms of their timeline, and they think, well, I need to find
someone soon,
my guy, my husband. And I don't think there's, like, I'm all about dating intentionally, but I also think that dating should be fun and you should be enjoying yourself, and not every date has to be about meeting your husband and having children with them. So if you take, you know, you need to kind of step back from that and just be willing to enjoy dating for what it is. You might not meet the love of your life, but you might have a great experience. You might learn, like, you might not like that person, but they might have some, like, a character attribute that you really, really want in your next, in the person that you date eventually. So as long as you can see it as either enjoyable or it's educating you and you're learning a lesson from it, I think there's massive value in it. I think that we put too much pressure in going into every date and being like, right, this is the man.
That's a really good. My mum would always say that about, like, ex-boyfriends. She's like, you will learn, you'll have lessons from every boyfriend, whether it's good or bad. She's like, you learn stuff from other people. So that's a really interesting point, is like, if you go on a date, you're like meeting someone new, and they might actually like inspire you to go do something, or interesting.
You might just find a new restaurant or a new place to have a drink or whatever, and then, you know, you can.
I was gonna say, one of my really close guy friends I met on Hinge.
No way.
I love it. He's amazing. We just didn't have a romantic connection. That's
it as well. You don't necessarily have to have a romantic connection with everyone that you meet. You know, you could meet a business partner. You could meet a best friend. You know, like, there's all these different types of connections, and humans, in the end, we value connection. We want connection. So I just think not putting all your eggs in the basket straight up.
Because that's I was gonna say that's a very good point. Cause then you just get deflated after a date. So you're right. You're like, okay, is this my husband? No.
Yeah, and I think, like, you just want to approach dating from, like, fuck it, I'm gonna have fun. I'm on this date, I'm gonna have fun, and go into it with the attitude that, you know, you're gonna have a good conversation. You can make sure you have you can go armed with questions that are interesting. You can try and learn about the person, and you never know what you're going to come out with, you know.
Would you say guys are the same, have the same mentality as girls, or would you say women put more pressure on dating?
I think women put way more pressure on dating.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, yes. I mean, I think men tend to reach an age, and it's a lot older than women, where they kind of start to think, oh, maybe I should settle down, and then it doesn't take them very long. But I just don't think they put as much pressure on themselves as women do.
Interesting. Very interesting. And then we were actually talking about this on our last podcast. So profiles for dating apps.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What advice would you give, I guess, women and men for dating profiles? So just from when I've researched stuff, a lot of advice that I've had is around, you want to have a picture where you've got friends, so it shows that you're not like a loner, I guess. Is there any other advice you'd give on dating profiles?
I think definitely use photos in which you look happy, and use photos that are diverse. So don't use all selfies. Don't use all photos with groups of friends. In fact, limit it to one photo with other people. Otherwise, there's confusion. And you've got a very small space to make a visual impact on somebody. And men are quite visual. So you want to show as many facets of your character as possible in those photos. So if you're a gym girl, maybe you in activewear, and maybe you at the beach, maybe you at a wedding, because then you're a bit more glammed up. And then there might be a selfie, and then there might be a photo of you with your dog. So you've got kind of different components to your character. And just make sure the photos are tasteful, I guess, and well shot.
We were talking about this. What's your views on having like a bikini picture or something like that? Is that too much for a dating profile, do you think? Because we rang in guys on our last podcast, and one of the guys was like, it's if you are, if someone turns up on a date or on a profile, one of their pictures on a profile, if it is a bit, bikini or whatever, then they might think it's more of a casual thing, which I was like, oh, okay, interesting.
Again, I think if a bikini shot reflects your character, like if you're a beach girl, you live in Bali.
It's like location, is it? Like if you live in Australia, you live in Bali, you live in like, a beach-esque, where you're literally on the beach all the time, or live right by it. Like it's obviously going to be like, well.
I mean, the only thing I'd say is maybe don't lead with the bikini shot. But otherwise, if you're a beach girl, if you're living in Australia, living in Bali, Spain, whatever, then go off. Why not? It's like
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. And that's the thing. It's like if you are, it's part of your character. It's part of what you enjoy. Like if you're like, I don't know, if you like surfing, if you love swimming.
Exactly. Could be a pro surfer in a bikini. I mean,
exactly.
But the other thing I think is really important on the apps is like everybody sleeps on the prompts. Like the prompts are so important because the prompts are your conversation starters, and you want to give the other person every opportunity to start a conversation with you. So make it as provocative or funny or interesting as you can, so that if a guy is scrolling through the profiles and he sees yours and he thinks, oh yeah, she's cute, let's see what she's got to say, there's something so easy for him to reply to. Like make it easy.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's the thing as well. It's like those prompts obviously say even more about like your interests and things like that, but actually
that's right.
Like if someone might just like, let's say, just like a picture of you and be like, hi, how are you, versus like, I feel like it's that kind of
like my most controversial opinion is Vegemite avocado and eggs on toast is the best thing ever invented, and someone will respond strongly to that.
I always like the two truths and a lie.
That one's good too. Like anything that's going to like kind of reveal an element of your personality that's like a bit quirky, unique, and is easy to respond to or relate to, great.
Definitely.
Right, next theme. Let's have a look. So we've done anxiety, dating profiles, red flags and green flags.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I think we covered flags, but green flags. I've got 4 kind of pretty strong ones that I always go back to, and they are transparency, thoughtfulness, integrity, and being able to say no. So transparency, I would say, is critical when you're dating, because you need to be able to be honest in your communication with someone, regardless of how it might land. So if you need to be able to lead with vulnerability to create a deeper connection. So you want to be able to say, I like you, or I am interested in a non-monogamous connection, or I'm not ready. So you want to be able to say those things to people so that you're not creating ambiguity within your connections, because we all deserve clarity. So I think transparency is a massive green flag.
Yeah, world where there isn't much transparency. So like ghosting is a normal thing.
Yeah,
like,
I think that's the thing as well. Like,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I think it's a sign of integrity that someone can not ghost you and they can write you a message and say, like, hey, it was great to meet you, but I don't think we're a match. There's nothing wrong with that. But they're willing to be able to say, honestly, I don't think it's for me.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's the thing. I've always kind of very much been so like, it's totally fine if you're not if you're not vibing this connection, be transparent. Like, there's nothing, and that's the thing, it's all part of dating. If you don't have a connection, just even if someone says to you like, oh, had a lovely date but haven't, not feeling it, great. Ghosting, I mean, that is like a whole.
That's the reason apparently Gen Zs don't go on dating apps nowadays, is the ghosting.
Really?
Yeah, that's a big thing.
It's not great that's become so prevalent within the dating landscape. Transparency, it's a big sign of integrity, it's a big sign of your character. What else did I say? Thoughtfulness. So thoughtfulness is kind of the combination of being curious about somebody, but then also remembering what they've said to you and bringing it back around to action. So if you said to me on a date that you're like, you love this bakery down the street because they've got amazing chocolate croissants, and then the person messages you the next week and says like, hey, great first date, let's go and check out that bakery together. That's thoughtful. They're considering what you said and they're bringing it into reality.
I was going to say, for me, a big thing with dates in London is location. I know it seems like such a small thing, but like, if somebody is like, knows whereabouts roughly you live and then says, right, let's go, where's you? To me, that's a big thing. Whereas I've had it, someone will be like, let's go meet in North London or East London or whatever. And I'm like, that's going to take me an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
We meet somewhere central. No, let's meet here. And I'm like, it's a really great place. I'm like, yeah, but it's going to take me an hour and a half there and back.
And that is like, obviously, the thoughtful.
Thoughtfulness.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's manners too. But yes, it is. It's consideration for the other person.
Point. That's just manners. It's not even thoughtfulness. It's just manners.
Exactly. And what's the other one I said? I think a green flag is actually being able to say no. So someone that can say no to you because they have their own boundaries.
Yes.
And I think that reflects their values. It reflects, how much their lifestyle matters to them and how much their morals matter to them. So, and it doesn't have to be huge, but it can come down to like, oh, I can't do Wednesday night. I can't see you on Wednesday night. I'm having like the pub dinner with the boys that I always have. Or whatever. But being able to say no is really important as well, because you don't create this sense of like gray space and like, oh, I don't know if he wants to see me because of he doesn't want to see me, or if he's busy, or if la la la. It's just like, no, I can't, would love to, but like, let's do it another night because I've got other plans.
Yeah, I think as well that just shows like them having other plans does show, they have a life and like they've got
Yeah, they have friends.
They've got friends, they've got, other things going on, and it means that, especially if like you are also a person who has lots of friends, might have like a routine with like, I don't know, fitness classes, work, whatever it might be. Actually, that's definitely definitely nice that they would.
I was going to ask a thing I saw recently on I think it was a podcast. A girl was giving dating advice, and she was saying how she thinks that on a first date you should be intimate, and in terms of touching, or she's like, you're not in a business meeting, so you should at least make an effort to touch. You should make an effort to, in terms of conversation, and making sure it's not just, there's some sort of intimacy there. What's your views on that? Because I've been on a first date and I kind of felt the opposite, but then I don't know if it's because I didn't. So basically I went on this date with this guy, and yes, this on one of the other podcasts, and within the first few minutes he was trying to put his like hand on my leg, and I actually at the time was like, I maybe could have liked him, but because he was doing that, it put me off. And I immediately was like, I don't like this, and I don't like you. But actually, if he didn't do that, and maybe if he did it in an hour or two, it would have been fine. But that was just
I've had a experience, and I would see that as a red flag. Actually, is like breaking that physical boundary too abruptly or too early. However, touch is, and subtle touch, is a way that we curate chemistry. So if that, like, in that situation, if that was 2 hours later and he kind of like put his hand on your leg, or touched your like elbow when you're talking or something like that, like something very subtle, or you did the same thing. Girls often kind of like play hit a guy, or, we kind of like knock into them or something like that. If you're doing those subtle types of touch.
Good point. Yeah.
It's kind of like a teasing, and that is breaking that physical touch barrier. And I think that goes a long way, because that's how you start creating chemistry.
So true. So even if it's just a bit like, you might
and you like, women do it with men all the time, you're kind of joking with each other, and then you kind of like, you push them, like you're like, oh, you know.
It's true though, I think that's the thing. And then if you kind of, and then eventually it's like breaking down the barrier, and then a few hours down the line, if you want to maybe.
And I guess
it also comes down to body language too. Like if you're sitting in a bar and you've been sitting in, it's a second date or something, you can put your legs inwards towards the person, and then over the course of the conversation, they're gonna naturally start to touch.
Yeah, I was going to say, I saw that on a Matthew Hussey thing where he said it's literally body language. He's like, when you first when you first meet a girl, he's like, don't have your feet pointed in at them, have them pointed away, just because it makes them, you naturally
feel
trapped. Even if you fancy someone, you feel trapped. So it's like making you feel trapped. Interesting. And then last theme is around initiation. So what's your views on, like, do you think, because we were discussing this as well kind of before, do you think girls should, maybe this is quite a broad question, but message first, ask guys out on a date, or do you feel like it should still be, because I think that's the hard thing, it's like that traditional dating, it's very much male led.
I always say to women, like, shoot to kill, meaning like, do what you want, ask him out. You can make the first move if you want to, but you always have to be willing to get a no. Basically. But I think that women, like modern women in dating now, we want to move, like we want to like get through our options, so to speak, to know who's going to be valid or not. So we kind of just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. I actually think it's better for women to lean back and just not wait for them to come to you, but you just like go about your life. And if they ask you out, they ask you out. If they don't, then they fumble the bag. You know what I mean? I do think that women are taking steps forward too often, but at the same time, there's no way I would say to a woman, don't ask them out.
Do you think, because that was my concern, is the whole concept of men like to chase. So if you actually say, I want to go on a date with you, or if you do things like that, does that actually ruin the dynamic, and you're actually, you've got less of a chance of something longer term? Maybe it's
no, but I think what you can do is soften it so that you're not actually asking them out. You can you can subtly lead him into it. So you can talk about a new sushi restaurant opening like down the road, or like a bar that you've always wanted to try, or whatever. And if a guy wants to, he'll ask you out.
Pin drop. Is it napkin? They say that like it's been happening for a pastime that women would drop their napkin or something.
Yeah.
Back in the day that they're keen.
No way.
Yeah, it used to be a thing. So it's like you think that guys haven't been asking guys out.
That is the thing, right? It is good for men to actually make the decision, but women are the neck that turn the head. So what you want to do is just subtly lead them there.
Yeah.
And then when they think they make the decision and they're stepping up to the challenge, it's much better.
Yeah.
Good point. Amazing.
Yeah.
Cool. Right. Any other last tips that you think?
Any last tips? I mean, look, just reiterating what I've said, I think everybody just needs to enjoy dating and know that you're going to meet a lot of people that aren't for you. That's normal.
Yeah.
Dating is a numbers game, but keep on going. And don't feel bad about rejection or meeting people that aren't right for you. Just know that, if you're rejection is a redirection. So keep on going.
That's so true. I've heard that, and rejection is a redirection.
I've never had that. I like that.
It's like saying to a guy, okay, my availability this weekend is brunch, or I can go for a beach walk with you on Sunday. If he says no because what he wants to do is to have sex with you, then you're not missing out.
No,
he's rejecting, but you're being redirected to something else. And you don't need people like that in your life. And in fact, not having people like that in your life will create room for better opportunities, better people, better connections to come into your life.
Exactly. So true. So true.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, perfect. Thank you, Jess. This has been
so
terrible.
Like a therapy session.
And yeah, you've given a lot of like really insightful tips, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers will be happy with all of the advice that you've given, the kind of little nuggets of information, and obviously from like a relatability perspective as well, like so many people experience kind of the same sort of like situations within dating, and I think
I like the reframing and actually trying to back and enjoy dating.
I think
that's really great.
Definitely,
the reframing can change your life, so helpful.
And also that tip you very much gave at the start, where it is all around, okay, it's not about if they like me, it's about, okay, do I have a connection with this person? Am I going to get on with them? Like what are they gonna bring to my life, sort of
exactly
thing.
It needs to be to improve your life.
Exactly. Keep that in mind.
But thank you so much, Jess, and thank you guys.
That's all right.
We have for today. It's been very insightful. And thank you so much,
thank
Jess.
you, Jess.
And we will.
That's okay.
Cool.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Right,
we'll stop recording.
Bye bye.
Thank you, Jess.